I've been dealing with staffing, recruitment, and immigration over the last 36 years. Today I want to help you pass TOEFL, which is a critical step in landing a career in the United States. Passport USA is a division of Health Carousel, and we're an international recruiting and staffing company based in Cincinnati. We've been around since 2004, and our organization is one of the founding members of the closely with International Auto Source, which provides automobile lease and purchase options for folks immigrating to the United States. And we work with two of the top immigration law firms, Musillo, Unkenhold, and Hammond Law Group. What we do is we recruit and employ foreign-trained healthcare professionals in rehabilitation therapy, nursing, and laboratory. And we work with healthcare facilities across the United States. We provide credentialing advice and reimbursement in a variety of steps through the process, including English proficiency, education remediation, visa screen, NPTE review, and U.S. licensure exams. We sponsor U.S. visas, including H-1B and immigrant visas, and we have 3 attorneys on staff, as well as working with the top immigration law firms in the United States who do most of the healthcare immigration work. We also help to coordinate and assist with relocation to the United States, including funding, relocation, resettlement to America. The purpose of this webinar is ideal for foreign-educated physical therapists and occupational therapists that are interested in a career in the United States and have not yet passed all the portions of the TOEFL exam. So what we're going to cover today: what is TOEFL, why is it necessary, what are the forms of the test, what does it take to pass TOEFL, what scores are required, how do you register to take the TOEFL exam. We're going to talk about the different sections of TOEFL and go through some tips. And we're going to talk a little bit about test day preparation, provide you with some resources, touch briefly on the importance of timing in your TOEFL examinations, and talk briefly about some bonuses and promotions. If at the end you've got some questions, I'll be happy to answer those as well. So let's talk, what is TOEFL? And TOEFL stands for Test of English as a Foreign Language. All foreign-educated healthcare professionals are required to demonstrate English proficiency. Physical and occupational therapists have to get a passing score on TOEFL. And again, there are 4 parts: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. The exam is offered in an internet-based electronic format every week or every other week in most major metropolitan cities throughout India, as well as the Philippines. The test costs typically somewhere around $180, depending upon your country and the location of the exam. You can refer to ets.org for more information about test dates, locations, and registration. And Passport USA can provide a variety of TOEFL preparation resources. In fact, we'll have some of those available immediately after this webinar for you. The 2 forms of TOEFL are internet-based test, or IBT, and paper-based test. The internet-based test is the preferred format. It's administered via the internet, and it's available very widely. However, if there's a place where the internet-based test is not available, those sites can offer a paper-based format. And the test center information can be found at the URL that's listed at the bottom of this particular screen. TOEFL IBT is administered via computer at more than 4,500 test sites in 165 countries. It's given in English. It's taken in a single day. The entire exam takes about 4 hours to complete, but with check-in, you should anticipate being there for at least 4.5 hours. You can retake the exam as often as you'd like, and you can combine passing scores for various sections from different testing attempts, and you can create what's called a composite score. So if I pass everything except speaking, and I have to go back to take the exam, and this time I pass speaking, but I don't do as well on one of the other sections, I can combine those two testing attempts to create one composite passing score. So let's talk about this a little bit more, the TOEFL scoring. If you take a paper-based test, you need to have at least a 560 with a test of written English of 4.5 and a test of spoken English of 50. So you get multiple sections there combined. The internet-based test, which is the more common version, requires a minimum score of 89, and each section requires a minimum score. Writing is 24, reading 21, listening is 18, and speaking is 26. I think it's important to mention that some states in America require higher scores than 89 and higher scores than these listed, but these are the minimum scores required for a visa screen. Some states in America don't require TOEFL for licensure purposes, but they are essential. TOEFL is essential in order to get your U.S. visa. And of course, graduates of physical therapy programs in certain countries are exempt from this TOEFL requirement. So TOEFL registration you can do by phone, by mail, in person, or online. It is best to plan ahead. Usually registration is available 3 or 4 months before the test date, and it's smart to make sure that you register 30 days in advance of whatever test date you want so that you don't miss the availability. The registration requires that you create a profile, and you need to have your passport or international ID information handy when you create that profile. You can pay with a credit or debit card or use an electronic check if you have a bank account in the United States or the U.S. territories. And once you've registered, please notify us of your test date and your sign-on information so that we can help to monitor your progress. And you'll also want to add score recipients to your account. You can add up to 4 other parties, and we recommend that you add FCCPT, and their institutional code for your reference is 8164. You should also notify the state licensing authority, and if, as an example, you wanted to apply to the state of Texas, the code would be 9357. For a lot of Passport USA candidates, we recommend Texas as the first place to register. We may want to also notify other states, but this is a pretty good one. That's 9357. And be sure to let us know here at Passport USA. If you can notify Katie Glazer. She's a good central point of contact for this. The things to do with TOEFL. You know, TOEFL requires knowledge, but particularly speaking and writing and listening requires practice, and it's a skill. And so we recommend that you practice, 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 and that means practicing reading. And simple things like reading books and newspapers and magazines in English. Make it a regular habit to do that. That'll help you begin to even think in English. Practice reading without a dictionary nearby so that you need to understand the context of the words and hopefully begin to discern their meanings. Practice listening. Watch modern television and movies in American English. Converse with other English speakers. And practice speaking. Talk with friends and relatives in English. Find a mentor or tutor or friend that has passed the exam and practice speaking with them. And practice writing. Essays using essay topics. If you go to ets.org, they have some essay topic ideas that you can use. I recommend you develop an outline format and use the same format every time you do an essay. Practice taking notes. As you study, practice taking notes on the main idea of what you read and what you've heard, as well as on what the main details might be of whatever you were listening to. Do this throughout your day as you listen to news reports or read websites or watch television. During the exam, you'll be able to take notes, and it's a good idea to build these notes to help you with grammar. We've got, again, at least one option for you later, and we recommend that you check the grammar of your practice essays using a checker, and so Grammarly.com is one option of a tool that you could use to do that. And practice typing. Sharpen your skills in typing. The exam requires that you type out your answers on the computer and type your essay, and I think it's also smart that you make sure you're confident typing on this QWERTY type of keyboard. And it's also smart that you perhaps try practicing on different computers and different technologies, so that if when you show up at the test center, they use a different mouse or a different keyboard than you've been accustomed to, it doesn't throw you off. When you are going through the speaking section, we recommend that you pause for poise. It's okay to hesitate for a moment or two when it's time to respond to a question. You don't have to jump right on the answer. So first, collect your thoughts, make sure you understood what you heard, and then fill in as much time as possible with your response. Make your points, and then sum up your answer with a short conclusion. We recommend that you use words that you know and you're comfortable with. Don't try to use big words that you can't say properly. You lose marks for poor pronunciation. Make sure you know how to use an expression properly before you try to use it on the exam. And you'll lose marks, once again, for improper use of vocabulary and idioms. In writing, you should memorize connection phrases. Examples would be and, but, so, moreover, nevertheless, therefore, those sorts of things. And memorize those phrases from practice tests that show you how to do that. That'll help it make your testing easier. Plan before you begin. Before you begin writing an essay or any section of your exam, spend some time planning before you write it. Make a brief outline. It's good to go into the test with a general outline that you use for your essays. And so if you can come up with a standard essay format that you can practice with, it'll help make your writing portion of the exam go more smoothly. Use examples. Make sure you use lots of examples to support whatever points you make during your essay. Also memorize transitional phrases like first, or first of all, or for starters, or in addition. So if I was having a paragraph and I wanted to transition to a new paragraph, I would make my point and then I would say, more importantly, and go on to make the second point. Or I would make the first point and then I would say, next, here's the next point. Those are all transitional phrases to help move from one paragraph to the next. When you're writing, the most important thing is to keep it simple and clear. And focus on that. Practice that writing simply and clearly to make your point. Practice spelling. You don't have a spell checker during the exam. Also stick to what you know. When you're speaking or writing, don't use vocabulary and pronunciation or punctuation that you're unsure of. And then check your work. Always leave some time to review what you've written and read your essay silently in your head as you check it. Study grammar. The IBT does not test grammar separately. You need to prove a strong grasp of grammar in the speaking and the writing sections. Find a book or study guide to help you with grammar. And also study vocabulary. You don't need to know every word in reading a passage to answer a question. You'll be asked at least 2 vocabulary questions from each reading. Pick a word of the day, as I recommended earlier, and practice it throughout each day. Practice reading without a dictionary close by. Anticipate the type of questions you'll be asked in this section. And focus on the main topic. Many of the readings have a main idea question. And when it comes to the questions, concentrate on the aspects of the questions that pertain to the main topic. Read efficiently. You'll be asked some detailed questions and some inference questions. You often won't have time to reread a whole passage. So we recommend that you skim through the passage quickly to identify the main idea, then read the questions, and go back to read the passage again for more detail. The questions usually come in the order they appear in the passage. Practice listening once. When you're in the listening portion of the exam, you don't have an opportunity to hear the same audio portion the second time. So you need to practice your ability to listen the first time. This is another example where if you're taking notes, when you have an outline and you can identify the main topic and key points and key details and get good at doing that, practice doing that, it'll help you with this section. And when you're practicing, practice listening to questions only once by playing the CD or tape only one time. Create a listening study template. Again, this is the main topic and key details template. You could create several sheets of paper with main topic, key points, key information, whatever you want to make sure that you listen to each time, and then use that template over and over again when you listen to study resources or find old recordings of political speeches that you could listen to. Look for an efficient way to listen to and listen for main topic and key details. Look forward during the exam. You can't go back and answer a question once you've already decided on an answer so in the listening section. So you need to just simply move forward, do the best you can, and then move on. The clock doesn't start running until you start the answer, so you do have an opportunity to sort of gather your thoughts a bit. You need to prepare all 4 skills, and they are integrated. So if you've got a weak reading, if you're weak in reading or listening or writing, or you're weak in speech, you're going to have to retake the whole test. You can't redo just one section. So make sure that you're ready to take the whole test when you register. If you do have to retake the test and you've passed several sections, you don't have to be as serious the second time around on those 3 sections that you passed. You're able to focus on the one that you most need to pass. But you do have to go through those other sections. They're required. Here are a couple of tips for the different sections of the exams that we recommend that you take a look at prior to, as a part of your study efforts. There are classroom-based TOEFL review courses in India, the Philippines, and online. The prices and course durations vary. And you can do a little bit of web research, or you can call your Passport USA representative, and we'll be happy to give you some ideas of what perhaps might be the best review courses if you'd like to take one. The Healthcare South Philippines office offers a TOEFL review course in their office in Manila, usually a couple times a week. You can contact our office in Manila or email an individual there, and they'll be happy to provide you with the information that you need on that. Additional TOEFL preparation tips. We recommend that you find a mentor. If you use Twitter, you can search for TOEFL. You'll find teachers and students to follow and to network with. And they can also provide support and share tips on finding free practice tests. We recommend that you build up your stamina. The test requires you to be at the computer for 4 hours. And so just like running a race or a marathon, you have to build up your ability to sit, to focus, and to concentrate for the length of time that's required for you to succeed. So if you keep your study sessions to an hour or two, your brain is going to be ready for you to, it's not going to be ready for you to handle a 4-hour test period. So start off with shorter study sessions and then try to work up to longer ones. and make sure you get a good night's sleep before the exam and show up rested and ready. Here's a list of some resources that you can turn to help you in your study. There are some books that are available. There are some study guides and resources that you can go to online. There are also vocabulary word lists that you can look at. There are some listening exercises available. Points about test day. Number one, plan ahead. Research and know exactly how to get to the test center and where you're going to park. Bring the correct amount of money for parking in case that's required. Plan to arrive at the test center at least 30 minutes ahead of your test time. And be sure to bring a current valid form of identification and make sure it looks valid. If you've had any problems with your ID before, make sure you bring a backup photo. Bring your registration documents from ETS. That's also important. When you show up, be prepared. Dress comfortably in layers. You can always take layers off, but make sure that you're dressed properly to be comfortable and to be with the temperature, and also to be sitting in one place for a long time. We recommend you eat a sensible meal before the test. 4 hours is a long time to go without food, and you won't want to. You're not allowed to bring food or drinks into the test room with you, so avoid too much caffeine or sugar before the test, and make sure that you have a sensible amount of meal for energy to get through the exam. And then we want you to pace yourself during the exam. Watch your time very closely. Some exam rooms don't have clocks, but the IBT has a clock on the screen. Don't spend too much time on difficult questions. This is a really important point. If you get stuck on something, sometimes it's best simply to move on to the next question and get to as many things you can answer correctly as you're able. There's no break between the reading and listening section. You do get a break after the first half before the speaking session begins. You'll also have only a short time to write the essay. So spend some time planning and make sure you check your writing. A really important concept is that you answer every question. Don't leave anything blank. Eliminate all the answers you know that are wrong, and at least make an educated guess. Don't labor over a single question and burn the time that can keep you from answering the correct question. With 4 options, you've got a 25% chance of getting the correct answer. That's better than leaving a question blank. And when you finish a section or question, try to put it out of your mind. Whether you're reading, listening, or answering a question, put all your concentration on the task at hand. Passing TOEFL is a critical step in the process. It should be the first step you take towards securing your credentials to work in the United States. It's important to note that IELTS doesn't work for a visa screen for physical therapists and occupational therapists. It also doesn't work for licensure in most states. TOEFL is not required for licensure in some states, but we encourage you not to follow that path. Don't be tricked by that. TOEFL is required for your visa screen certificate. And so that's the reason that you need to make TOEFL a priority. I have to tell you, too, English proficiency is also helpful for success with the NPTE exam or for the NBCOT exam as well. English proficiency is essential for competent practice in the United States. You need to speak well and effectively and conversationally with patients and family members, as well as with professional colleagues. So this is important not just to get your ticket punched to come to America, but also to be successful once you get here. TOEFL timing is important. If you want to get to the United States this year, you need to pass the TOEFL exam by early spring. Otherwise, you are likely not to be able to complete the process in time to meet the various visa deadlines. Some items can be done concurrently, such as TOEFL preparation and coursework remediation, and the length of time to complete remediation can vary widely. So depending upon especially how many courses you need to remediate and what methods you take to do that remediation. So we recommend that you focus on TOEFL for a period of time and get it done. And if you can, if you want to get there, get to the United States during this calendar year, then it's important that you get TOEFL done very, very quickly. And we've got a graphic here that shows you an estimate of what a typical timeline might look like for an international therapist seeking to come to the United States. So the months listed aren't how many months, but rather which month. Month 1 through 3 is TOEFL, month 3 through 6 is coursework remediation, and so on. And your specific situation may vary from this. We recommend that you talk to your Passport USA representative about what you need to do and what your timing needs to be if you want to get to the United States this year. The Philippines, Healthcare Cell Philippines is offering some special bonuses for qualifying candidates this year. There's a $500 TOEFL pre-qualification bonus for Filipino educated therapists that present a passing TOEFL score at the time that they sign their Passport USA contract. And depending upon your country of residence, this bonus could be paid in installments, and it could be done prior to U.S. deployment or upon completion of a period of service in the United States. You should ask your recruiter for details of whether you're eligible and how this would work for you. If you're in the Philippines, they also are currently offering bonuses for success in passing the exam and for timeliness. For people that have already signed the contract but have yet to take TOEFL, those bonuses may be available. Depends on when you sign the contract during the year and, of course, what country you're from. So check with your Passport USA representative. If you do get a pre-qualification bonus, you're not eligible for success or timeliness bonuses. And we do require documented expense receipts for any credentials associated with bonuses for which you may qualify. And any credential-related compensation that is paid in the United States and not substantiated by expense receipts will be taxable as income. And now it's time for questions if you've got any. Andrew, do you want to give them instructions as to how they would do that?
Yes. You'll notice on the right side of your screen that there is a question box, and it looks like we've got a number of them in here. If anyone else has additional questions, we'll try to get through as many as we can. So feel free to type them in the question box, and we'll go through them right now. Would you like me to read the questions out? Okay. First question is, I was confused. The example given by the
other author.
By the author Kaplan and Longman, they give speaking example more than 1 minute. What is better? It sounds like it's a question regarding the speaking section of the exam. And
which is better, Kaplan or Longman? Is that the question? I think that's the question, and I'm not sure that I can give you good advice between those two options. I recommend that you talk to the Passport USA representative, and they can give you a better answer on that.
And Rosebell, we'll get back to you on that. I believe we've got all your contact information, so we'll download all the questions that are here and get back with you on that one. It sounds like you're testing tomorrow and still having difficulty in reading and speaking. I think the best thing about that is, that you go in and try to do your best. If you feel like you're not going to succeed in certain areas of the exam, don't let that throw you for the parts that you feel like you will do well in. As we mentioned earlier, you can go back and combine scores from different exams. And, not to say that don't try to pass those areas, certainly do your best, but don't let it throw you if you stumble on them. What it will give you is the second time back, you'll have a good idea of what to expect. So it's really, you have better insight the second time around regarding the reading and speaking. And certainly also stay in touch if you're not already with our Philippines office or your Passport USA representative. They can provide further guidance on that, potentially some other resources that we can provide. You know, we're always here to help you.
One point I want to make about the reading and speaking portion of this, when you come to the United States, you are going to need to communicate with people in a conversational manner, and a lot of people struggle in their employment in the United States as well as in their assimilation. Then there are tools and resources available online. We recommend that you use those. We've got some we'll provide at the end of this webinar, but there's some listed within the slides as well that you can download and you can access. And so we recommend that you focus on that. It's ideal to find somebody that you can speak with, and that'll help you. And by the way, working on reading, I think will help you improve your speaking. Because it helps you think in English a little bit better.
When you can even possibly read out loud, obviously not if it's going to be annoying to other people, but that'll help your pronunciation and everything along the way, which will help your speaking as well. So, you know, just practice reading, and we've got a number of resources. We'll be sending out all of the slides with the ones that are listed in here and additional ones as well to everyone that's in attendance here, and posting it on our website. So you'll have access to take a look at all of those. I see there's a question here too about another site, noteful.com. I'm not sure if we've looked at that one. We'll have to check it out. So I don't think we know.
Yeah, I would encourage you to explore a variety of resources. So while I'm not familiar specifically with noteful.com, it sounds like it's a valuable resource for you, and I'd encourage you to continue utilizing that and others. I noticed that it says, what if I don't pass TOEFL? Do I still have a slot with your agency? And the answer to that question is yes. A variety of candidates that are working here in the United States did not pass all sections of the TOEFL exam the first time that they took the exam, and they might have come short on a score by a point or two in a particular section. And they worked on that section and went back and retook the exam and passed on a second or even a third, fourth, or fifth attempt. And so we recommend that you continue to work on it. You still are in good standing with our organization, and I don't think you should worry about that. There's a question also, Roosevelt has a question about writing an essay, and one of the links in one of the slides we've got earlier gives some information on, I believe there's some stuff on essay writing, you know, sort of an outline, talking about how you open an essay and how you fill in the body of the essay with the points you want to make, and then how you conclude the essay. And so you should, this is a case where I recommend that you have a general structure or outline that you use repeatedly and consistently, so that, and you practice that, so that when you actually do it during the test, it just flows more smoothly. Go in with you know, a plan, almost you know, an outline in your mind.
You could probably come up with, you know, like the outline, I think, is the best idea. You know, just like you watch a movie, and so many movies follow the same plot line. You know, there's this that happens, and then there's drama, and then there's the resolution to it, and everyone's happy in the end. You get almost kind of with, you know, stating the main idea, giving examples, you know, a solution to the problem. And I'm not suggesting that's the right order, but, you know, almost everything they have, you could probably come up with a canned outline for.
Is it possible to take NPTE without taking the TOEFL? I'm sorry, can I apply for credentialing even while I'm taking TOEFL? The answer is yes. Can you take the NPTE without TOEFL? The answer is yes, but we recommend that you focus on TOEFL first. Most foreign candidates find that the TOEFL is a significant challenge for them, and that if you pass the NCTE but you can't pass TOEFL, it doesn't do you much good. You do if you're a physical therapist. You have to come to the United States to take the NCTE exam, and that usually involves some significant expense. And so we recommend that you focus on TOEFL first. Can I give you easy steps for your TOEFL exam tomorrow? Nothing better than what we suggested here in this webinar today. I think you should review the links and resources we've provided. There are some additional resources we'll provide at the end of the webinar, and those may be helpful to you. All of the recommended websites, again, we've got some on these slides, which you can download these slides, and we also have some additional resources that, Andrew, how do they get access to the additional resources?
We will post information on Facebook. We'll post it on our website. I will send each of you an email with links or the presentation actually in it. Feel free to share that with your friends as well. So I'm going to be doing it in a number of different ways. So today, early next week, all of this will be available in a variety of formats.
The next question Rosabelle asked is, what do you mean by course remediation? In order to get a visa screen in the United States, you have to have education, an education review, a transcript review, to determine whether your education is substantially equivalent to the requirements for U.S. physical therapists. And usually in the Philippines, most physical therapists have to take several courses in order to meet that standard. Our Passport USA representatives can help you to identify those courses, and remediation means simply taking the courses that are required. It means going back and essentially augmenting your education with additional coursework so that you can meet that U.S. standard. And there are some simple and relatively cost-effective ways to get that done, and our Passport USA representatives can help you with that. In India, the coursework remediation is typically more substantial than if you were educated in the Philippines, and we've got some partners in India, some education partners that again can help you to take those courses and do so cost effectively and very with efficient use of your time. Are your slides available, or is it possible to send it? Yes, Andrew just mentioned we'll be getting that to you, Jenny. Can you access the presentation? The same thing. With the very expensive review classes, Culture TOEFL Review sponsor or provide financial assistance for the review for TOEFL. There are a variety of free resources online that you can access. If you're in the Philippines, we have a review course provided in our Manila office, and we're working on identifying some additional resources that may be available for you in a cost-effective manner, but otherwise we recommend that you take those TOEFL courses. You know, I don't think I can emphasize how important TOEFL is for so many reasons. It's important for visa screen, it's important for licensure, it's important for assimilation in America, and it's important in success in your employment and practice as a therapist in the United States. So I think this is a first important step for every therapist to take, and if you invest some money in a review course, I think it'll pay dividends in all those other areas down the line. It's a worthwhile investment in your career. Okay, in the reading part, can I look at all the questions first before answering them? I believe the answer is yes. You should be able to do so. There are, when I've gone through some practice sessions, there have been some, I read a section and there are some questions at the bottom, and then in subsequent pages, there are additional questions that are related. So you may find that you don't have all the questions in front of you when you're doing the reading part. So we recommend that you skim it, look at the questions that are available on that particular screen, and then go back and read the section focusing on those key points. But it is possible that another question could come up on another screen that would relate back to it. They said that I only need a 63 on the combined scores in reading, writing, and listening, and 26 on speaking in the TOEFL. Is that true? Well, on our slide here in this presentation, we've talked about the specific scores, but some states, for example, the state of Arizona requires something. So a 63 is a wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess unless that's just for a particular state, you know, it doesn't. But you know, the biggest thing is that you've got to meet the federal visa screen guidelines. Some states are going to be less or more. Some states are going to have particular scores for each section. Some are just going to have a combined. It's going to vary. So when you said they, I guess it's important to know who they is. And I guess it's important also then to know what state that might apply for. We can give you specifics on any state that you're interested in, but what we stated was, you know, the federal visa screen guidelines, which are mandatory.
The next question is, we'd like to know whether you should undergo the whole test again if I fail to pass any one section of the test. For example, if you failed to pass in writing. And the answer is you have to take the entire exam again. You can't just go back and take one section. But during the sections that you have previously passed, you don't need to concentrate as hard or worry that you're getting correct answers. The key for a retake is to focus on the section that you came short. And so yes, I would encourage you to go back and retake the exam and try to improve on any section that you underperformed.
But no need to mentally exhaust yourself if that's the case on the sections that you previously passed. Save your mental energy for the one that you really need to pass or the two that you need to focus on.
The next question is, do we need to pass TOEFL to process the Type 1 credentialing? The answer is yes. The Type 1 certificate requires a passing TOEFL score, and so we recommend that you pass TOEFL before you begin your process with FCCPT. Are there templates that can be useful in dealing with the speaking and writing section? Again, I think some of the resources here in these slides can help you with those sections, and we'll also have some additional resources that we can provide. Which is easier to pass, the internet-based test or the paper-based? I'm not sure that that either of them is particularly easier, and I think our preference would be that you go through the internet-based test. That's the most broadly accessible version of the test. I think you'd have to be in a place where they didn't have access to the internet in order to have to take the paper-based test. So you're currently working in Singapore. Is there any possible way to register with us? Andrew, would you like to provide?
Yeah, I think that you're talking about being able to work with Health Carousel Philippines and Passport USA. Certainly, we have, for example, we have a number of Filipinos that are working in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and so on, that are working with our Philippines office. I'm guessing just by your name that you're probably educated in the Philippines. So I would suggest going to the Passport USA website, finding the phone number for them and calling them up, or send an email to ph.recruiter@passportusa.com. We prefer candidates who are educated in the Philippines. to work with that office because they understand things that we talked about, like the remediation courses that might be necessary, the local board passing scores. They are the experts on dealing with Filipino candidates. We'd love to work with you. So Jenny, please give us, send us an email, send us your resume, and give us a call.
Are there any tips on how I can take notes faster? Yes, when you're practicing your listening, it's a good idea to sort of develop your own shorthand for, abbreviations for things, parts of words. If you can, when you're going through a reading practice, if you can begin to take notes while you're reading and use some shorthand as you go, that's good for practicing that shorthand and note-taking. And then I think when you practice listening, you can do the same thing again, apply those same principles. So shorthand, abbreviations, those kinds of things, that's important. The other thing that I recommend is that you have an outline or a structure that you follow in your note-taking, where if you built a template, grab a sheet of paper and write at the top, main idea, main topic, something like that, then have 3 key points that you identify during the article that you're reading or the audio that you were listening to. And if you build that template and perhaps sort of any key information that's valuable, then when you're actually listening during the exam, you'll have that sort of structure that you've used over and over again. So have a structure, build a template, practice using that in written and in spoken form, use shorthand, and use abbreviations that help you to write more quickly so that you don't have to write out long sentences when you're taking your notes.
So we're going to have about another 5 minutes for questions, and we'll keep going through as many as we can.
Is it practical to apply for credentialing through FCCPT without passing TOEFL yet? I'm afraid I'm lacking professional units, so I'm planning to attend a course remediation too. Again, our Passport USA representatives can give you some specific guidance about your case because we regularly deal with therapists that need to go through course remediation, and they can give you some guidance as to what is the likely path for your education remediation. Generally what I would recommend is that the first step in your process is that you get your TOEFL completed. It is possible to get started with remediation and to work on your TOEFL concurrently. It really comes down to how confident you are in handling TOEFL. If you think you need a lot of work on that, then I recommend that you focus on it and then come back and deal with your coursework remediation.
The only thing I would add to that is, it sounds like, and most likely you probably are short on a few classes. We can help you identify that without going through the expense of going through FCCPT. A lot of times they'll just come back and say you didn't meet the standards, but they won't tell you necessarily what you might be lacking in. We can help you do that without spending the money on it. So talk to us first. We can help you out with that. So don't just, don't go ahead and try to see what happens. It's just kind of probably will be a waste of money and time.
Right, and we've got representatives in India that are education representatives that can help you to review your transcript on an unofficial basis. And our representatives in Health Carousel Philippines can do a review of your transcript on an unofficial basis, without you spending a lot of money and going through the FCCPT registration process, and they can give you guidance then on how to go get your coursework that you need, the additional coursework that you need to meet the Type 1 standard. And so we think it's a good idea to take advantage of those resources and build a plan for how you're going to spend your time and your money in order to make sure you meet that, that standard. Why does TOEFL have a validity date? Is it possible to renew once it's expired, or do you have to take it again? You typically have to take the exam again. They have a 2-year expiration date. There are some cases where an expired TOEFL can be utilized, and so even if it's expired, it's possible to use it. But it is also possible that you would have to retake the exam again. So once you pass TOEFL, it's important that you multiple components, the different sections that you pass together and create one passing outcome. But because it costs money to register with SBCPT, we think it makes sense to pause for a moment on your registration and focus first on passing the TOEFL exam. Make sure you can clear that hurdle before you begin spending money and dedicating your time to the visa screen certificate.
And I think just some clarification on that one. I think in one of the earlier slides you said when you choose FCCPT as one of the 4 places that ETS will send your test scores. And I think that this person might be concerned that if they don't score well on that part, it would hurt their attempts. You know, it's not going to hurt you. You're just not going to make it and get the FCCPT Type 1 until you get all the sections. You pass on all of them. So, if you do poorly on one, they'll have that information, but they're not going to hold it against you. You're just going to have to take it again until you get it correct. It's not a gray area of how many times you took it. It's whether you passed it, yes or no.
Can you help an OT to work in Canada, or is your program only for the United States? I'm afraid our program is only for the United States. We're not currently working with any healthcare organizations as clients in Canada, so we can't help you there. What if I pass the test with maximum scores and send it to SBCPT for Type 1? Is it necessary to pass first the NPTE before taking TOEFL? No, actually, we recommend that you take TOEFL first and later come back and get your Type 1 certificate, and then with your Type 1 certificate you can apply for NPTE registration. So the order of things should be TOEFL first, Type 1 certificate second, and then NPTE. And
then going back to the first one, that kind of addresses your concern about sending a less than perfect score to FCCPT. I wouldn't be concerned with that. It's not a gray area. They don't have sit there and it's either you did it or you didn't. Either all the sections are passed with the score required or not. It doesn't matter necessarily if that comes from one test or combined results of passing scores from multiple tests. So it's not going to put a black mark against you. It's either you met the requirement or you didn't, either through one test or multiple. So you shouldn't necessarily be afraid of sending it to FCCPT and just wait till you get the perfect score, because that may never happen.
Is it necessary, I'm sorry, are you sponsoring the NPTE review course? There is a, depending upon what your country of education is, where you reside today, there are different methods of addressing that question. The Healthcare South Philippines office has a method of paying for those items that differs from the way that review is handled in India. And so if you are in the Philippines, or if you're Filipino not working currently in another country, We recommend that you talk to the Passport USA folks about the current methods of funding NCTE review. My memory is that there's a reimbursement for the NCTE review after you've completed it, but I'm not sure that that's current today, so you should check with your Passport USA representative. If the let's see here, advantages and disadvantages, I'm not sure I've got that. If there's one thing,
let's go on to this one down here.
Okay. We'll
get back to that one potentially. We'll have just a couple more minutes.
How long is the validity of the TOEFL result? It's 2 years. And I haven't used it for the OTED. Can I still use the same result? If the TOEFL is expired prior to your application with NBCOT for your OTED, my belief is that you're going to have to retake the exam, and so I don't think they'll accept an invalid, an expired score on TOEFL. I'd like to ask if the expenses in TOEFL course remediation credentialing is sponsored by us, and if this is not in a loan form, then you're going to have to pay all that once you're out in the United States. No, here's the way this works. If you're in the Philippines, there are a variety of things that are paid for by Health Carousel, and you, in exchange for those, for us paying for those various things, you have an employment commitment period that you have to fulfill, and as long as you fulfill that employment commitment period, then you have no obligation. If you at any point were to fail to fulfill those obligations, or you abandon the program, you may have some obligation at that point, but it doesn't come in the loan form. And so we fund a lot of those activities. If you're in India, the program operates differently. There you've got to fund a lot of the credentialing activities, and there's a reimbursement program upon your arrival in the United States. So there's no loan program in any case. Okay. I think I got that one, Andrew. That's, so you had your credentials evaluated by ICD last year. They told you lacked 4 subjects. You recently finished it. And the question is, do you require or prefer candidates with FCCPT? The answer is yes, we prefer candidates with FCCPT because it is more widely accepted. ICD limits you to specific states for licensure, and the standards may or may not meet the Type 1 standard, which is necessary for your visa screen. So it's okay to have ICD, it's helpful to have ICD, but it's very limited. We think it is important that you go through FCCPT. I think it's a good idea, again, to specifically review this with your Passport USA representative and get their guidance and counsel for you.
Right. And it sounds like you've done some of this on your own. You know, I think especially to all the candidates out there, you know, don't think that you have to necessarily do this on your own. It makes sense. Contact us first, and, you know, we can help you avoid pitfalls. We can potentially help you avoid expenses. If you sign up with us, and, you know, we can potentially compensate you for some things that you've done. So you need to talk to your Passport USA representative, Health Carousel Philippines representative, to figure all of this out. If you try to do things on your own, no offense intended, but you might make mistakes. We do this all day long for hundreds of candidates, so we know what to avoid. We know how to do things that help you avoid expenses or eliminate them altogether. So take that time, talk to us, and we'll figure out the best strategy with you.
There's a question about, do we offer online TOEFL examination? No, we don't. You have to go to ETS, to one of their testing centers. And can you view this website with the hints? Andrew will provide this information to you at the end of the webinar. What if you pass the TOEFL, you're still in Saudi, you need to finish your contract there? Do we have online review for NPTE? I believe that through the therapy education program that we listed on one of the early pages in our there's therapy exam prep, which I believe is therapyexamprep.com. You can go to that and they have online courses for NPTE.
Yeah. And like Rosebell, it sounds like you are very excited about the opportunity maybe to come to the United States. I don't know if you are, if you signed on with us or not. You know, certainly to the Philippines or wherever your home country is. So talk to our office, sign up with us, and when you sign up with us, you know, you'll find that there's a wealth of other things that we can help you with to avoid costs and everything else.
A couple of quick questions I want to jump to. Do we offer free TOEFL review class in the Philippines? The answer is yes. You have to be able to qualify, and you need to talk to our Passport USA representatives about that. Is it true that if we undergo credentialing with CGF&S, we don't have to take coursework remediation? The answer to that question is no. Are there states where you're going to deploy a PT that's been accepted by CGF&S credentialing? You have to meet the visa screen standards, and those visa screen standards are based on something called Coursework Tool 5. In a separate webinar, we cover some of the information about education remediation and Coursework Tool 5. Regardless of whether you go through CGF&S or you go through the FCCPT, you have to meet that Coursework Tool 5 standard, which is 90 general credit hours and 60 professional credit hours, or a total of 150 credit hours. And that's the standard regardless of whether you go through CGF&S or FCCPT. FCCPT created the Coursework Tool 5 standard, and they provide the Type 1 certificate, and that's more universally accepted in states around the country, and that's why we recommend it. The best steps to avoid expiring TOEFL is we apply for the OTED process first, then TOEFL or vice versa. I think that it's a good idea to take TOEFL first and then apply for OTED, because you want to make sure that you can get through that hurdle before you get yourself involved in the rest of it. So we recommend that you get that done. It is possible to do those at the same time, and I would recommend that if you're confident in your English communication skills in all the 4 sections, then you can certainly take that process. Otherwise, I would say get the TOEFL knocked out first. There is one other thing for occupational therapists that I do want to mention, and that is that if you haven't taken the NBCOT exam by the middle of 2013, then you have to have a master's degree in order to qualify to work as an occupational therapist in the United States. And so it's very, very important that if you are an undergraduate educated occupational therapist, that you move very quickly to get TOEFL out of the way and get your education reviewed. In the case of NBCOT, they can take a long time to do an education review, and therefore, and it's done because it's done course by course. It's a more complex process than for physical therapists, and therefore, we recommend that you start that as soon as you possibly can. You can do TOEFL while you're well, that's underway.
I think there's one more question here. Someone had their credentials by ICD. Would we still be interested in them as a candidate? Yes. I mean, even though there might be some things that would not get you a Type 1 certificate, we'll work through all of those with you. We certainly are interested in working with you. Again, the best thing I can point out is don't try to do it by yourself. There is a reason why we want people, we prefer candidates with Type 1 certificates. It's because they are placeable in the most states, and they're placeable for the best jobs in the United States. So if you really want to have that opportunity of getting the best jobs in the United States, it's worth that extra effort to get the credentialing review by the most widely accepted standards. And so in short, we're definitely interested in working with you.
The TOEFL review course in Manila is available to people that can get to Manila. We don't have a TOEFL review program currently in Mindanao. I think it's an interesting idea, something we may do in the future, but today we don't have that availability. Is it true that by 2013 a master's degree is required to take the NCTE? You have to have the equivalent of a master's degree in order to do so, which is the 150 credit hours, and that standard is in place today, but you don't have to have a separate master's degree at this time, and I think you're probably okay through 2013. Occupational therapists will have to have a master's degree if they haven't actually physically taken the NBCOT exam by June of 2013. And so it's important that occupational therapists move very quickly to get their NBCOT OTED process underway. Is there an age limit to taking the TOEFL? I don't believe there is. What score do I require in speaking? We've got that on slide.
I think that's a 26. But
yeah, we've got all the requirements on the slide here, but speaking is specifically a 26. That's a visa screen standard. It's usually a licensure standard around the country. So there's a couple, of course, items we've identified that you can use to improve your speaking during this webinar, and some additional things that we can send you, Andrew will send you when we're finished with this webinar.
I think that's about all that we have time for, and I'm very pleased that there are so many questions. That means that we have a lot of very motivated people out there, and thank you for spending your time on this Friday evening or morning, potentially, depending on where you are in the world. We look forward to working with you. Please visit our website for further contact information. Give us a call. Send us your resume. That's always a great place to start if you're not already working with us. We're a great agency to work with. Not even really an agency, a company, because you would be our employees. I love working here. We are bringing over hundreds of people. Check us out on Facebook, and we hope to talk to you soon.